Had a really interesting technical question recently about the exams available from MBA.com and thought some people might benefit from this. The question basically was, if I've already taken the two free tests and then I sign up for another exam under a different account, can I get two free additional tests that are different from the first two? Now, on the surface, a lot of people are going to tell you they're exactly the same exams, but that doesn't actually reveal the full truth about these tests. If you didn't know that the GMAT uses a specialized scoring algorithm that selects the next question you see based on your performance on all questions that you've seen up until that point in the exam, that's a good truth to accept. So what that means is it's very difficult to actually retake the exact same test because the algorithm is feeding you questions based on the questions you've already seen, and those questions are somewhat randomized in terms of the way they appear. What I mean by randomized is you're likely to see a similar number of word problems on each GMAT you take, just like you're likely to see a similar number of probability questions, a similar number of algebra questions, a similar number of exponents questions, etc. There's some variance between exams, but by and large, those balances remain unchanged. Having said that, each exam and the algorithm pulls from a vast pool of questions so that it can show you exponents questions at a variety of difficulty levels. If you're not sure how and why the difficulty level of questions that you see is important to your GMAT score, then please hit the link in our bio and watch our webinar. It's extremely important that you understand how the GMAT is scored differently than traditional tests. It's not just based on accuracy, and if that's blowing your mind for a second, you really need to watch the webinar. I break it down for you for free. Now, back to these free practice tests. Yes, in a way, it is the same practice exam, but because your performance is likely to change as you study, when you retake the test from a new account, then you're probably not going to see very many repeat questions on that new exam. Having said that, if you haven't studied very much between the exams and you're just taking it with a let's see how this goes mentality, then the exam is likely to be quite similar and the practice is not really going to be super valuable. So what you want to do if you're feeling constrained in terms of the number of exams you have access to is take the first free MBA.com exam as your initial baseline and then make sure you study hard in a meaningful way and have a strong expectation that your skills have really improved between that first take and the second test. Then when you retest with the second exam, you have a reasonable indicator of what you're strong in, what you're weak in, and what might need a little bit more work. If it comes to having to retake those exams, you can reset them once productively. Now, if it comes to the point that you need to reset those exams or make a new account to get access to them again, then what you're going to want to do is just repeat the advice I just gave for exams 2 to 3, which is study hard, use the data from exams 1 and 2 to pinpoint your weaknesses, make sure you've made a meaningful stride in those weakness areas before you retake the third exam so that you can expect to be at a higher difficulty level and see as many fresh questions as possible. Now, there might still be a couple repeat questions in there, and the score might be a little bit inflated, but it's still going to be very valuable practice for your timing, not missing questions you know how to do, and then using data to assess what your new strengths and weaknesses are. If you're confused about what I mean when I say making a meaningful stride in the focus areas you've identified from the previous exam, then a simple way to validate that if you're self-studying is to ask yourself, have I gone through every single question in the official guide for GMAT review on these topics that I've identified as weakness areas? If you haven't done that between exams, that's the place that you want to start. And the second thing that will help you validate that you've actually done this review and this skill building in a meaningful way is whether you can explain all those official guide questions to someone who is not studying for the GMAT. And you really want to take that to heart, even going as far as explaining them to the mirror or explaining them to a pet or explaining them to a willing friend. If you can't teach the problem, then you don't really understand it well enough to make a meaningful score gain on the next test. Seems like a simple question, but it's kind of a deep topic, so wanted to give a little bit more of a take here. If you have any questions about your specific situation and retaking exams, shoot us a DM or comment below, and we'll do our absolute best to help you out.